toast. It's like brick toast with like, I think it's pandan and condensed milk, a little toast situation. But it's like a bunch of little like street dishes basically.
Oh, word. I'm gonna get this and this. Okay, great. You want sweetened? Okay, great. Milk energy. I've never had this before. Awesome. Certified awesome, it says. It's kind of awesome.
It's certified.
That's ethical AF.
It's ethical AF.
I love that.
It's so fresh.
You can tell. So many friends.
Oh, yeah.
And here's your quiz along.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. Can we get utensils up there? Here's your fork.
Thank ya.
So everything that we ordered that's coming except the toast is vegan.
Okay, sick.
Honeycomb
Holy
cake.
shit.
This should be cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Like, get this for Jay Woo.
For the real
Jay Woo. Fire? Do I have to dive in? Oh my god.
So good. Is it like a caramel? It's like a vanilla? Something special.
I'm still shook on the fact that this is vegan at all.
This is what I wanted. I feel sorry for anyone with a nut allergy.
Holy.
You don't have a nut allergy, right?
No, no.
You're like,
Oh my god.
oh my god, it's so doughy. It's like liquefied peanut butter, but not really. It's like really, really good. Question.
It looks like the spaghetti cakes.
Oh my god.
Do you know what I mean? Like the condensed
I think
angel
this is,
hair.
oh my god, yeah. Like a spaghetti casserole.
Yes, spaghetti casserole, yeah.
I'm gonna have to see what this texture is like before I can maybe decipher what it is. It's really good.
Ah, it's blue coconut sticky rice. Wait. Oh my god.
Is it like coconut on the top too? It's like toasted?
Yeah, it's like toasted.
Oh my god. I used to hate coconut.
Really?
As a kid. There was something about like those store-bought macaroons that we would randomly eat, and I just like hated them. Now I love coconut. I put coconut on everything. I put it on my oatmeal.
Oh yeah, it's so good on oatmeal.
It's like a healthy fat. It's
yeah,
weird.
you gotta, and do you use coconut milk for your oatmeal?
Coconut milk. Oh my god. I don't have it around, but when I make curry. Yeah, so I make it.
Yeah. How did we meet?
We met at a shoot. I was like producing it, and then we casted you. That second time that I like met you, I was shooting with Samia.
Yeah.
And then she was like, "Oh, can my friend Phoebe come along?" And so we all went to get Korean barbecue.
Yeah.
I started producing because I realized that a lot of people in school that I was like, you know, classmates with, or like in other schools, like other fashion schools, were like, I don't know how to book a model, I don't know how to like book a studio, I've never worked with any photographers except, you know, my peers. And so like I was at that time I was like building my portfolio, styling and things like that, and so I was like pretty connected in that sense that I knew people who were in the periphery and like were looking for jobs and like were willing to help students with their stuff. I began to help people basically doing a package. I'm like, okay, I'll produce a shoot for you, I will book you your photographer, here are all your options. We have like, you know, 5 options for photographers. Give them all like really good options, and like sometimes find a set designer, sometimes find like locations that aren't just like studios. Thank you so much.
God.
The grand, the gem.
This is what you've been waiting for. This is what you've been yelping for.
Literally. It was always a really, really stressful situation because you have like so many moving parts, and so I had to kind of like step away from that and like focus a little bit more on styling. And then over time I, you know, started a company with my friend, and that took up a lot of my time, so now that's primarily what I'm doing. And also like modeling on the side.
Yeah, killing it with the modeling too. Do you expect to model as much as you have been?
No. Obviously like modeling like has ebbs and flows, and like you can't really guarantee it forever. Trying to like map out what I can do continuously to like kind of like keep getting those jobs.
What's sustainable for you?
Yeah, exactly. What's sustainable, like what makes sense, what seems organic and isn't so contrived, because I feel like a lot of content these days you can literally tell it's so contrived. It's like constructed to the very like nth degree. Fun thing, I was at this influencer lunch with all these people and all these vloggers, and
so
no one was eating anything. I was just like, I was eating a lot, so by the time we got to like the third course, it was like this dessert, it was like this chocolate cake, and it was so good. I was almost done with it, but I was like super full, and I was like, I might as well just finish this to prove a point. Like, no one's eating anything. Everyone had like one bite of their chocolate cake, and I was just like, I get it, we're in fashion, you have to be conscious of your appearance or whatever, but if you really want to eat it, just eat it. What I also hate is when I'm on like a big set and the catering, like they'll wrap up, right? And the producer will like throw it away, and I'm just like, I've seen someone dump like 20 sandwiches in the trash, and I was just like, you could have at least donated that somewhere.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, food waste, another topic. Yeah, I mean, growing up, it's actually pretty funny because like we always had snacks in the house. That was like a big part of my life, snacks. My earliest memories and the ones that are the most visceral are food memories. I literally can smell the soy sauce, like pork and boiled eggs that my grandpa would make. My grandpa never really cooked except made something like that, and it was like one of my favorite dishes, and like I still, you know, try to make something similar to it. And my grandma would every morning for school, she does this like tortilla thing, so she uses like a flour tortilla, and then she puts like scrambled eggs and chives on it, and then she would like pan fry it and fold it into like kind of like a bake.
Ooh.
Super good. And then she would also make same kind of like toast as like milk bread with like egg and like lettuce and mayo. And it's just like, I remember that flavor so specifically. My mom would make me food for lunch every day, and you know, I went through the like child of immigrants like thing of being like, oh, why can't I have lunch bowls? Like, why can't I have like PB&J? Like, I just want everything that everyone else is having, and like having my lunch smell weird or whatever. You become really self-conscious of yourself in the, you know, in the cafeteria when everyone else is eating their American lunch, and I literally was one of only a handful of minorities in my school. My mom always cooked a lot. My family in general always cooked a lot. Even if it was my dad making ramen because he can't cook, we'd come home late from work, like make ramen, put like random stuff from the freezer in it, and like turn it into something. And just like being around like home cooked food all the time, it was always just like you sort of like you feel like you take it for granted, and then you leave and then you're like, wow, that's like something that is like so much hard work and so much time put into it. And so like I have such a deep appreciation for food because of, you know, the home cooking culture. I don't really cook with meat, even though my family cooked with meat a lot. It's just like a personal preference of like handling raw meat and things like that. My relationship with food is definitely changing. When my body was going through kind of like crazy things because of my period, I had to change my diet accordingly, change my lifestyle in general, start exercising normally, and just like try to get everything balanced. So
yeah. Wait. Yeah. So when did that start? All the periods?
Long story. Since junior year of high school, I always had crazy periods, and it's so embarrassing, but like I basically was hired by Claire's to do like blog posts for them, so I was like a Claire's blogger in like junior year of high school.
No way!
They would send me like boxes of stuff, and I would have to like create content for them.
Wait, that's sick!
I think it was only 1 month, but during that 1 month, I felt so pressured because it was like constantly like content creation, checking it with like my superior, getting it approved, like uploading it or whatever. And that whole process, I was just like stressed out about it. My like 16-year-old self or whatever. I got really stressed out from that, and I basically like started bleeding and didn't stop bleeding. And I would get my period for 2 to 3 weeks, every 2 to 3 weeks. So I basically was on this constant cycle, and it was just going really quickly. I had like no breaks, because as soon as my period ended, I'd be like, oh, I have a week until my next period, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that really stressed me out, and the stress of that, it's so cyclical, it's all connected. So the stress of that would just cause the same thing to happen again. That happened over most of my life until now. In fact, if like I didn't control my life and like am on birth control right now, I think I would be in a very bad place. So the worst thing that happened after that was I moved to New York. I started assisting and interning, and this one job person stressed me out so much that I got my period, and I didn't stop for like 3 months. So
wow, so it was triggered by stress.
Yeah, definitely. And you know how people feel stress in like their neck or like their back or whatever? I feel it like in my abdominal, like below, like my uterus area, basically where it is. For me to make that connection after a lot of years, I'm like, okay, well, I need to control my stressful situations, like learn how to manage that. But it's like, you live in New York, you have a high-paced job, you work in fashion industry, it's like, you really got no
good
rest.
Luck, buddy.
Yeah, very good luck. Like, that's another thing that happens in fashion is how mental health and physical wellness is not really discussed.
Oh my God,
because it's pushed aside all the time, because you're like, okay, gotta do it for the job, gotta like push through this week, I can do it for another week, and then your body breaks down and you're like, well, what do I do now? I've gone to an irreparable state. So for me, I really learned from that, in that when I was styling, when I was first styling, I was like, I'm gonna take everything that I can. I need to build my portfolio, like it's gonna be really good. And it did. It was, you know, if I didn't work that hard, I wouldn't be where I am now. You only have your health, that's really all you have. I had to have more discretion taking jobs, and I was like, okay, I have school, I have this, I need to just be like, no, I can't do it, I'm sorry, and just say no to more things. But again, you know, the eagerness of you wanting to be out there and do a lot of things, it's just like, it's hard, so balancing that was something that I had to learn over the years. This like blue rice situation is really cool.
It's so cool.
Being like a woman in fashion and working with models all the time, at first I was just like never affected by body image, and like I was like, wow, I'm like so surprised how far I'm going without like feeling like terrible about myself.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, like the hormones in my birth control like kicked in. Literally one day I woke up and I was like, how did I gain 15 pounds? And you know, being on birth control and like dealing with like the stress of the cycle and like of school and everything like that, I really wasn't just watching what I was eating, and I was like, oh, I'm anemic, I need to have red meat, I need to like eat a lot of like protein and like get my iron levels up. And it was just like I was eating kind of carelessly, and it like really caused me to like be like, okay, I need to be really careful about what I'm doing. I can't just kind of eat randomly anymore because my body's changing.
Right.
I started working out, doing that regularly, and it really helped with everything. I started cooking more, which is important. I moved into an apartment that had a kitchen, but my dorm actually had a kitchen, so I was also cooking then. I got really into like meal prepping, not in like the bodybuilding way, but like in the control your portions. Like I do a carb, a grain, like a blanched vegetable, like a sauteed vegetable, roasted vegetable, and just like really get the whole like range of what you need in your daily like intake basically. And that really changed a lot of things. You know, I continue to eat like that. I bring my meal to work because it's cheaper. I love cooking, and I love like diversifying like what I'm eating. I can't eat the same thing every day for a week, so that just helps me like think of new ideas when I'm cooking stuff.
When I first saw like the period space happening, it brought me back to when I was 14 on set. I was shooting for Delia's.
Oh my god!
And it was a lot of jeans. And my mom at the time was sick, so my mom like didn't. No one went to work with me. I like had family friends that would take me to jobs because my parents couldn't be there. I had like a really heavy period that was like I couldn't go to school. Like I'd be throwing up, like in bed for a week, and I had that on set all the time, and it would be so bad. But like I went through white jeans on set. I was so embarrassed. Luckily, the stylist was a female who like didn't care, and she was so cool. But it just brought me back because I like at that time I literally was like, Mom, I need to go on birth control. Like not for any reason, but I literally need
control
help.
Your flow, sis. Yeah. Sometimes it's genetic, sometimes it's natural. It's like, you know, circumstantial, and honestly, like women's health is not studied as deeply as any other issue.
Yeah.
And so like for us to like have to always be questioning stuff, it's like it sucks.
I felt so uneducated on my own body, and I didn't even know what to like take of that, and I was so embarrassed about it. But it's really not that embarrassing when you think about it.
In high school, I would be so embarrassed that anyone would hear the sound of the plastic, because I didn't use tampons, and I was like, oh my god, I'm the only person that doesn't use tampons, and I was like so self-conscious about it. It was just like such a traumatic experience for me.
It's traumatic.
Yeah.
I had a Diva cup that sucked to my cervix.
Oh, no,
I told you that at the event.
so scary.
Scary. You think you know your body until you're in a situation like that, and you have
You're like
you're like
not feeling I could talk to anyone, even my mom, because she was so like Taiwanese. She was so like, okay, you have to take like Eastern medicine, like we're not gonna let you go on hormones. And I was suffering for like 3 months, and I was just like, this is never gonna stop. I legitimately thought I was gonna die. I literally,
it feels like you're dying.
I would go to sleep every day and be like, I would be at peace if I just died because I'm suffering so much. It's not like I wanted to die, but I was like, if I die, I think I'll be fine. And it was just really, it's crazy to have that realization when you're like 19, you know what I mean? And you think that you're gonna die because of your period, because no one's telling you that it's not normal, you can get it checked out and you can fix it. All that like loneliness and all that like, all those feelings of like, kind of like resentment for not having anything to, you know, learn from is like why I started Period Space, because over time when I was like complaining to people on the internet and just being like, oh my god, my period, and putting on my story, a lot of my followers like reached out to me and were like, oh my god, like I'm going through the same thing, I've been so self-conscious about it, it's my biggest insecurity, like we should just be talking about this like more like you do. And so that's like basically what the catalyst for everything, and that's where it is now. It's just, you know, crowdsourced, people contribute articles and essays and, you know, their research, and everyone can read it. It's also a resource, so there's like birth control information on there, there's PMS information on there, all the disorders, yeah.
That's so good. I love this site. Like as soon as the site went up, I was like, yo, it's lit, we gotta make moves. I sometimes wonder what my reality would have been if I like had gone to the right person and actually gotten some sort of like analysis or like something holistically analyzed. As much as I'm very like anti like people making people feel bad for being on birth control, I do think there's something to be said about like looking at your diet and stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's another conversation that I was recently having at my event at Bulletin the other day. Everyone was talking about how like they had crazy doctors and how people in general just don't feel like if their doctor isn't treating them the way they feel like they need to be treated, they can choose another doctor. Like that's the biggest thing. Like for me, I switched my gynecologist around 2 times and now I'm with someone that I appreciate and like I feel like he does a good job taking care of me and I feel like safe.
So how has being on set and like that job affected that for you?
It's funny because recently being on set, I'm the talent.
Right.
And so versus like seeing someone else be the talent and going through the motions of, dressing them, whatever, watching them eat. I ate like 2 plates of food on every single catering set. I'm like,
hell yeah.
I could not give a shit.
Yo, is it good catering?
It's really good.
Yeah.
I'm like, why am I the only one eating? But I'm like, I really don't care. Like, I just did something for Macy's. And no
Macy's catering is so good. I used to be a
know.
Macy's girl. Dude, they are so good. Their salads are incredible.
I literally had like 2 plates of food. I pretty much have 2 plates of food on every catering thing. I'm always eating. You can always find me near the
me too.
Like every shoot I do for my company for Peter, we always we love like catering, right? We do it ourselves, like because Costco's next to our office, so we all go to Costco and like get like a spread.
Hell yeah.
So like I'm always just sitting by the spread. And I also like bake. I love baking for shoots. I love baking, like bringing it to work and stuff like that. So I was on set. We did like a kind of like a test day. So we had, one studio and then all these models came in throughout the day to do tests back to back, like 9 hours. And there was this one girl who was just there since the morning and she was there for the whole shoot. She must have been, I think she was 12. I literally think she was 12. I mean, you start modeling when you're 12, right?
Oh, young, yeah.
So she was fine. She was like super sweet, didn't really talk to anyone. And then, everyone was eating their lunch and she just ate an apple and that's all she ate all day. And I was just like remembering like, oh my God, I don't think that's right,
No, it's not.
It's really sad that she feels that has to be the way.
Yeah, exactly. She's probably like also being so young in a literal adult industry. Like.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy being on that side of styling, assisting, and like being on the Devil Wears Prada side, and just like knowing that it's real. Like, it's really scary. And
oh my God!
Is that a fan? I don't know. So cute.
That's so awesome. I love that for you. They're so happy. Oh, they're like looking back. Oh, that's so cute. That made my day.
I'm blushing.
I love that.
I am so fortunate in the last year that I've been really modeling to not have been on a set where it was unwelcoming, uncomfortable, etc. I really have not had the misfortune of working with anyone that's been inappropriate or aggressive or anything. If anything, it was just hardworking people that wanted to get stuff done. But the industry is like ridden with all that stuff, and the Me Too movement is like exploding, and obviously the industry is like seeing that as well. But I think that fashion also, like all the other issues that we swept under the rug, continues to sweep that under the rug because these people are revered for their work. It's crazy how fashion just like kind of chooses its issues to address.
You also hit these.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I feel like I've been in like a social media hole and just like, the game, comparing yourself to everyone that you're around and like just clicking through people's stories and be like, I hate my life. Is it just me?
Every single one of us.
Social media, like just being an unattainable front. It's like a facade that a lot of people edit their stuff, so it's not actually real. I like try to be so authentic on my platform because I said, like I don't really, try to curate it anymore. I'm just posting how I feel and what I feel. But there's always a pressure because you're always seeing your peers. I'm like seeing numbers and I'm like, oh my God, why are my followers going down? It's like at the end of the day, it's like it's really not that important. It's just like for some people, yes, it's like how they make their living. For some of my living comes from that as well. So I do have to be conscious of it, but it's not necessarily like a make or break. A lot of the times I really just have to take myself out of that and just be like, I have my own journey. This is so cliche, but it's so true. I have my own journey. I have my own battles that I'm fighting. Like I'm trying to do other things that aren't fashion related, which I appreciate for myself because I feel like if I was only doing fashion, I would be in a very different place mentally. And just to have like the outlet of period space and the people and the support around it is just like so important to me. To be able to like carry that message within my fashion community, the people that follow me who are, you know, in the industry, to people like across the world in other countries who are like talking about their cultural stigmas, like revolving around menstrual, you know, health and menstruation, and also like back into like local New York. Like, you're not in fashion, but like you still know people, and you're like also hustling that New York life, and you have your own issues too. So to be able to share that with people, I think is really important, for me at least. It gives me a sense of like solace too. Food gives me so much joy, and when people like want to suppress their eating, it makes me sad. So
Me too. Me too. You're creating like a safe space that is, one, very relevant to like models that eat too, and I think I mean, at the end of the day, it's like we have to keep having conversations that people don't want us to. I love period space. It's just important, man. You should do a YouTube channel.
ooh, I
We
think
should
you do a
video.
podcast.
Podcast. That makes way more sense.
That's what I would do.